to begin. Welcome everybody, Souldin of the Grin Brothers here, and it's time for another episode of Tea Time. For today's tea, I actually have my favourite tea of all. It's called Orange Pekoe. It's nice because it's mostly like regular tea, but with a hint of orange. It's like citrusy flavour, and I do like my fruits. So, the fact that I'm resorting to using my favourite tea on the show is mostly because I'm running out of different teas to even try. I do have a new tea set though, and a tea making set, so I should hopefully have some more, be able to make my own sort of various teas to do for varying up the teas out on Tea Time. In any case, this is actually a tea time that I tried to do before. Unfortunately, it didn't come out quite as well as I wanted to, and certain things were in the way, such as the fact that I mentioned what number tea time it was, but then I ended up uploading the Nintendo Direct tea time during the week before I could upload this sort of tea time. So I'm redoing this one. In fact, I've had to redo this one. This is actually the third attempt, because the second attempt the dogs were barking like mad for some reason. No idea why. In any case, this tea time was inspired by my friend Cybershock from the YouTube channel Cybershock Games, who did a, if you want to, feel free to check him out. He does some pretty funny videos, pretty decent videos. Who did a top 5 favourite games of 2014 video. I was like, I also want to do a top 5 favourite games of 2014. So here is my top 6, sort of top 5 favourite games of 2014. The reason it's sort of is because there's actually 6 games on this list. However, I couldn't decide between 2 of them which I preferred, thus it became a top 5, because 2 of them share the same spot. I think special mention should go to the game Bravely Default Flying Fairy, a game I'd love to put on the list, except for the fact that, well, for people in the US it came out in 2014, and thus it's perfectly logical for it to go on their list. For those of us in the UK, Bravely Default Flying Fairy came out in 2013, thus it makes it a 2013 game. In fact, I found out that I hadn't actually played that many 2014 games in 2014. Most of my time during 2014 was spent playing Bravely Default Flying Fairy, Super Mario 3D World, Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD, and other games that had come out in sort of 2013 and I got at Christmas or in the autumn period. But this is exclusively games which came out in 2014 though. And I shall begin in just a second. Now. Souldin's top 5th favourite game of 2014 is Pokemon Alpha Sapphire and I was about to say Bravely Default there. Sorry. Pokemon Alpha Sapphire and Sunset Overdrive. This was the tie I was talking about. I couldn't decide between the two. I like both games equally as much. Talking about Pokemon Alpha Sapphire first, I got this game for Christmas, which has been the game I've been playing the most around the Christmas period, so I feel that, you know, I've done enough sort of time with it to actually have this on my list. I love Ruby and Sapphire. It's either my second or third favourite versions of Pokemon games, and my second favourite Game Boy Advance game of all. I love the sort of region. I enjoy the selection of Pokemon, even though it doesn't have that many bug Pokemon I like, which is my favourite type. Funny enough. But it's an enjoyable game. The remake is wonderful. It includes tons of the great features from X and Y, such as Super Training, Pokemon and Me, and it introduces a new cool stealth mechanic while getting rid of the really annoying rollerblades. It improves a lot on the original formula, and it keeps the good factors such as, you know, Team Magma and Team Aqua, you know, making things feel more different between versions than any other Pokemon game sort of manages to achieve. The only thing I'd say is that some of it's sawing out. Also, if you hear any sound, that's probably my key running about. Some of the things, such as how they remade Granite Cave in certain ways, don't work quite as well. Speaking of Sunset Overdrive, though, Sunset Overdrive I've already made a video on, and I absolutely love its gameplay. I think there are certain criticisms to be had with it. As a avatar-focused game, it doesn't work too well because your character has so much personality. But in a way, the character having so much personality kind of makes the game better. I mean, it works. The story is actually pretty darn cool. I found it pretty funny. I found the gameplay amazing. The visuals were wonderful, so bright and colourful. And I had a ton of fun playing the game. There's just a lot to enjoy within Sunset Overdrive, despite misconceptions regarding how the game is perceived in a way. But I was glad that it's was the first Xbox One game I played, as it was one of the games that motivated me to get an Xbox One. So then, I feel that's enough to say for those two. So, my fourth favourite game of 2014, Hyrule Warriors. Interestingly enough, I'd probably also say at this point that Hyrule Warriors is probably my fourth favourite Zelda game of all. It's a wonderful game in paying homage to the Zelda series with tons of Zelda characters, which in recent news, my most wanted Legend of Zelda series character of all, Tingle, who just got announced as a playable character via DLC. The Season Pass DLC, by the way, is absolutely fantastic. It was fairly cheap, and you're getting so much a ton of content over a decent period of time. But Hyrule Warriors itself, I have only really, with the Warriors series, played One Piece Pirate Warriors before, but Hyrule Warriors I feel is a much bigger step up. The action feels more fluid, things are more apparent in sort of taking over keeps and who's the sort of enemy boss. The sort of Z targeting works brilliantly for targeting onto enemies in the game. And I love the selection of characters is fun, the selection of locations is fun, and I like sort of grinding and all that. It's just a generally fun experience with lots of cool moments, and though I know the Warrior series gets criticisms, I had a lot of fun with it. And that's why Hyrule Warriors is my fourth favourite game of 2014. Very sorry about the coughing there. Okay, now for number 3, my third favourite game of 2014, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Interestingly enough, Donkey Kong Country Returns was the game that motivated me to try and, with Rafi, to set up Grin Brothers. It was the game where, playing through it, I thought to myself, this is actually really funny. I think people would enjoy watching this. And as such, I was motivated, when Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze was announced, to, for that birthday, get Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze and all the equipment we need for recording. And so we started preparing our first Grin Brothers playthrough of Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Unfortunately, errors happened, which meant that we're unable to upload Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze until a much later date, and probably in a slightly different format than our regular Grin Brothers videos. In any case though, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is a brilliant co-op platformer. It's challenging, but also a lot fairer than Donkey Kong Country Returns. The challenging sort of, the first few levels are easier enough. The bosses are certainly more interesting. Though there's only one which is like really intense, I'd say. Decent amount of challenges. The levels are really varied. Lots of fun. And it's just a really enjoyable game with lots of sort of secrets and hidden stuff. And, it makes the game feel, if you want to just blast your way through it, of which you have to be very skilled to manage that, you can do so. And it makes it a short but very well polished experience. Or you can spend your time trying to find all the hidden stuff, in which case there's a lot of things to do after you complete the game if you just wanted to speed run the story. Wonderful game, and I hope you'll enjoy our upload of the Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze series when we eventually get round to it. Oh, I tried to sort of turn my head away for that one, but it didn't seem to work. Number 2, my second favourite game of 2014, Kirby Triple Deluxe for the 3DS. I'm a huge Kirby fan. I absolutely love Kirby. Kirby's Fun Pack for the Super NES, otherwise known as Kirby Superstar, is still my favourite video game of all time. And Kirby Triple Deluxe is an amazing game on the 3DS. The level design is absolutely perfect. Some people have mentioned sort of trying to tell people how to play a game without giving them sort of like text-based tutorials. Kirby Triple Deluxe manages to do so brilliantly in just how it designs its levels, sort of making you sort of do everything. The mirror levels in it are amazing. The new power-ups are pretty cool. Circus is a bit crazy, but I love Belle. Belle is brilliant. The level design is just absolutely sort of fantastic. The bosses are pretty cool to fight against, and I like all the sort of side stuff it has. The DDD Drum Dash, brilliant. The Kirby Fighters, brilliant. The secret modes after you complete the game, absolutely brilliant. Kirby Triple Deluxe is one of my favourite, certainly one of my favourite games, at least top 20, top 30. It's my second favourite 3DS game of all at the moment. Actually, no, yeah, it's my favourite 3DS game of all. Yeah. So it just manages to get better than Bravely Default, because Bravely Default has some problems towards the end. But anyway, Kirby Triple Deluxe, wonderful game. If you have a 3DS, I certainly recommend it. You shouldn't be disappointed, unless you're not a big fan of platformers or Kirby games, in which case you'd probably be disappointed. But that's my second favourite game of 2014. And now then, folks, it's time for my number one favourite game of 2014. I'm first going to drink my orange Pecado. That tastes absolutely wonderful, but it's my favourite tea, so you probably assume that. Anyway, number one, Souldin's top favourite game of 2014 is Child of Light. Yes, a eShop, or, well, digital download game, is my favourite game of 2014. Child of Light is just absolutely brilliant in my eyes. It's my favourite game of this entire sort of next gen so far. Xbox One, PS4, Wii U, it's my favourite. It's wonderful graphics. I love the storyline. I love the characters. Seeing the characters interact. There's this one moment where they beat in one of the bosses, and the character interactions after that are just absolutely brilliant. I love the oculi mechanic and equipping it to the weapons and the armour, and how they have different effects depending on whether you want to equip into your sort of weapon or armour and such. And there is so much I could just say about this game in how much I enjoyed it. It looks wonderful. It's a short but decent experience with plenty of sort of room to explore. I love the sort of flying. The movement is great. The use of Iniculus, I believe, the Firefly. Absolutely brilliant to heal you or stun enemies. The fact that it can technically work as a co-op game as a result. That it was just a wonderful game that I enjoyed to bits. I fell in love with it just doing the sort of first sort of chapter, and I just enjoyed it throughout. There's never a moment when playing Child of Light that I'm ever bored. It's just pure joy from the moment I get round to playing it. And my enjoyment of Child of Light is actually what has motivated me to look forward to Ori and the Blind Forest so much, even though Ori and the Blind Forest isn't turn-based, but it does have a certain feel that makes it seem similar to Child of Light in a way. But then, Child of Light, out of all the games I've played in 2014, is my favourite game of 2014, and is currently my favourite next-gen, well, current-gen now, game so far. And I hope, I'm going to naturally hope that I see other games surpass it during this generation, but with how much I love that, I think it's going to be pretty hard. So that there is my top favourite games, Souldin's top favourite games of 2014. I imagine if I'm going to do a top favourite games of 2015, I'll be sure to do that, before the end of the year. And this year I'm actually going to be focusing on getting some games for 2015. I have a bit of income and I don't have to worry about getting an Xbox One now or buying a PS4 for my older brother as a birthday present. I'm now sort of free to spend it on the important things in life. Video games. And more video games. Because that's what will help this channel. So then, I hope you enjoyed my list of my top 5 or / top 6 favourite games of 2014. Feel free to tell me your opinions on said games, even if you wish to, my opinion on my list, and feel free to list your own top favourite games of 2014. I'll be sure to look and read at each and one. Thank you very much then for listening, and cheerio then. Hope you enjoyed.